We're trying a new platform today because we're just simplifying some of our stuff, but should be all good. We Let's check over on YouTube, make sure that we're live there. It looks like it. Yes. Yep, we're live. I just had like this really weird echo. I just saw myself live on our stream and then over there.
Echo chamber. Sick.
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 Cool. Okay, let's see. Let's see, how can we see everybody watching? Okay, we got a few watchers over on YouTube, it looks like. If you're here, say hi in the chat, just to know. Well, maybe Franny will be here
Yeah.
today,
Do
and
you see a
Mohammed.
count
And
on the platform? Or
I see a count on the top. I don't. It was like the uh, same area where the YouTube button was, so maybe you might not see it. But if do you see the chat on the right?
yeah, I see the chat.
Sweet, cool. Well, Weekly Wednesday.
Yeah.
Number,
Yeah.
I wonder how many we've had so far. Oh, here's
Yeah.
Steven,
Oh,
Andrea.
hello.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you. Caregiver for memory loss. That's cool.
Nice.
I
And it
wonder
just
if
pops up automatically, or did you select it?
I just selected that one right there. And
Oh, oh,
Steven. Hey, Steven. Oh, and Franny.
hello,
Nice. Hey,
hello.
Franny.
Happy
Good to see
Wednesday.
you. Happy Wednesday. And oh, and James as well. Hey, James. Good to see you. Oh, some familiar faces. This is super cool. Glad everything is working today. Because if you missed the first few seconds, we migrated over to a new streaming platform to make it easier for us to kind of clip up everything that we're talking about and make it into like shorts so we could repost it onto, our other social medias. But yeah, so it's different today. I mean, Jason's not here,
I
so
know. It's weird without him, but
yeah,
uh,
I know. How's the week going for you?
it's good. Just hopping along. I feel like it was long weekend. Like it was July 4th, like last week, and coming on a long weekend, it's always like you have this hangover almost of the long weekend. And you're like, oh,
Right.
okay, gotta get back to it. Well,
What'd you
how
do
about
this
you?
weekend?
Uh, Mostly just like relax with friends. Watch the fireworks. Regular stuff.
That's
I
right.
I try not to make too many travel plans on the like July 4th type holidays because I feel like everyone does. So.
Yeah.
But so it's a good time to stay. And actually, Seattle, especially, like most people leave. I feel like it's actually hollowed out. You go out and there's like very few people around. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Right.
Uh,
Right. I bet a lot of people like go to like Lake Chelan or
oh yeah, just
if
nice.
they have the houses out there. I
Yeah.
bet.
What
Same
about
here with
you?
San
Like,
Francisco.
what about you? Like, what was your first July 4th in San Francisco like?
It was chill. It was like pretty crazy. I mean, we walked down to the pier and the waterfront, and it was just craziness. And we have a roof that we could see like fireworks stuff from, and yeah, it was good. It was relaxing. Um, it was kind of cool. Somebody, if you're watching this, I forget who it was. There's a few people that had some bugs this weekend, and I was like working the first half of the morning on the fourth, and fix some bugs, and people were like blown away that they got a response on July 4th. And I was
Oh
like,
yeah, I
hey,
saw
no,
that.
no, no.
Well,
So sorry, there was a bug on the embed player. I was surprised it went this long without somebody letting us know. Essentially, the colors, like you could select a color on the embed player, like blue or red or whatever, to match your podcast theme, and it just wasn't being. There was just a bug that was introduced, a regression. So
oh,
that was
well,
fixed on Friday. Um,
yeah. Who needs agents when you got Pearson like 24/7? It's always on call.
that's what I made a change yesterday. I mean, I saw you approved it this morning, but like for everybody out there, like obviously we're a young platform and we got bugs. We're building things quickly. Bugs get introduced, things are gonna break, and it's just a game. But hopefully we monitor them and we fix
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, no, I mean it's cool, like developing these systems because they help us, and you're particularly right. very good at like I think like setting these up. I really enjoyed the we have this through the chat. So we have this Pearson said this new customer channel where every time we get a new customer, we get a ping like, hey, somebody purchased, and it's like great motivation for us. I love seeing the little blurb
It
like,
is
oh,
cool.
so and so joined, Jellypod. So
It's cool because I think it's really cool because yeah, we could like dig into like who the customers are, but automatically when somebody purchases, it like summarizes like what they're creating. So you kind of have a like idea like,
yeah,
oh, like are you creating education podcasts or tech
yes.
podcasts? So it's like
We should probably, yeah, I mean, because that's actually a landing page thing too. People add on landing page, you get a little um, alert popping up, on the left that oh, so and so purchased. What
right,
what's funny is like there's like Next.js templates like what's a shipfast and stuff. They actually have fake data in it. So the idea is to create fake scarcity that people are using it, which I mean, think
right.
is a little unethical. But like we actually have customers, so we don't need to do that. We can actually just,
Yeah,
surface the
totally.
real
It's a,
stuff.
it's a whole interesting. I've always thought like on that side, it's like, especially as you get compliance, like this will go down to like this rabbit hole of like growth and stuff and things that we're thinking about on how to make the platform, better and like SOC 2, just compliance or accessibility, like get those sort of documentations done. I think it would be a really cool thing for. There's a lot of professors in education, uh, educational users and universities that might have like a higher standard or like enterprises in terms of like what the platform needs to have in order to like be used. Um, and the privacy stuff is interesting. I mean, like global laws around like sharing information. Like honestly, to me, it blows my mind that like the ship fast stuff that you're just talking about. I feel like that's just like you can't do that in the EU,
Oh
and like
no,
show
yeah.
customer information like publicly. Like I don't know, it's
I
weird.
mean, you
So
can't do anything in the U. They charge you have to fill out a form to just to breathe. It's
I just did that
yeah, I know.
with all
Yeah,
the
it
Italy.
is crazy. It actually makes me wonder. Like honestly, there's a like we've talked about this. Like the people talk about businesses having moats. I feel there's the mode is just like oh we figured out all the 50 forms we have to fill out to sell this product. So
True.
it's just funny because actually the fastest growing one of the fastest growing companies of the last 2 3 years is Vanta. I don't know if you've heard of them,
Right.
but they basically was started by this really smart product manager. I think I forgot which company she was working at, but she was like thinking of an idea like oh I need an idea, I want to start my own startup, and she's just going through all the compliance shit, and she's like oh but all this compliance stuff is and then she's like wait, maybe that's the idea. And she's like what
Right.
if we and so she basically makes it easy for YC companies and stuff to get SOC 2 compliant and all that, like, and automates all that. And yeah,
Right.
I think it became a unicorn within a year or something like that. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean, so there falls that to say that yeah, there's a huge moat and demand for people to just take away paperwork. We will pay you
Totally.
10 cents on the dollar for every dollar we make. Just take it.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's super interesting. I mean, we'll have a discussion after this too about like all these opportunities for us to
Yeah.
to grow into these domains. But I wanted to shout out Andrea also. I think this is pretty
Yes.
cool. Well, thank you so much. I mean, this is super cool when people say this stuff. Like,
Yes.
it's
Appreciate
super
it so
motivating.
much.
Um, it's like genuinely like I don't know, like I don't know if anyone over here is entrepreneurs. Andrea, maybe you are yourself, but those types of messages are motivating because obviously there's other people on the other side too that like, oh, your platform's broken. Why is it not doing the thing? And those things are like, oh man, come on, we want to make a great thing. But
Yeah.
seeing those, it's awesome. So
No,
thank
this is
you.
awesome. I think Andrea posted, what her podcast is about, which I think is super cool.
Yeah,
it's
show it.
a, it's landscape
So
photography. I love this, by the way. I mean, these kind of ideas are just so cool. And so Andrea is like, she takes for every photo, I'm guessing, or a set of photos, you're creating a podcast about them, telling them the story. I think that's such a great idea. I've talked about this for one of the ideas I wanted to do for songs and stuff because I've gone down rabbit holes where I'm very bad at understanding like lyrics and stuff, but like because you get the surface level reading and then you hear the backstory. It's like oh he had this lyric because such thing happened and the band broke up at during this time, and you're like there's this whole lore about it, right? And you go on
right,
Genius and stuff, and I'm like yeah you can build a podcast about songs and stuff, and so photos are another great, angle to it. Every photograph, has a meta narrative to it. So you can talk about it.
Right.
So very
Totally.
cool.
That is super interesting. I would love if you're willing, Andrea, to hop on a call. We do these things called customer stories, and I think a lot of you have hopped on to these calls. I think Franny, you talked to Jason, but we do these things where it's like a 20, 30-minute conversation. We just talk about like what you're creating with Jellypod, how you found Jellypod, and just some basic questions, and we throw it on our YouTube just for, helps people like you or future yous find Jellypod and maybe get some traffic back to you. And we'll give you 2,500 credits, like a whole free month of the starter plan and credits to jump on here. So if it's something you're interested in, or if anyone out there is a customer and wants to hop on and have a
Yeah,
conversation,
please.
uh, just message me and I'll message out to you guys too. But just let me know. It'd be super cool.
Yeah. We
So
love all the different ways you guys use Jellypod.
yeah, yeah, it's really awesome. So I think so. I sent out the email, and obviously after reading it 10 times, I noticed right after sending it there was a slight typo, but that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Do you see the typo?
No, I did not. So I don't think
Uh,
anyone did. It's,
yeah, yeah. Probably nobody reads emails anyway. So, but you're all here, so you're watching the live stream. Um, we had two decent features come out this week. The first one, nothing like really major. It's more behind the scenes. So this past month, we launched multi-host podcasts. So, or increase the number of podcast hosts you can have to four. Previously, you could only have two, and that was awesome back and forth conversation. Or you could have one, like a monologue. But now you can have three and four podcast hosts. It opens up a whole new range of what you can create. Like, I don't know, it's pretty cool. Um, but we've been working behind the scenes to kind of take that data and really investigate and experiment with like the different, the prompts that go to the LLMs to make those conversations more natural and more engaging. And we're kind of building out a framework behind the scenes to make it so over time your podcasts get better. Uh, we're testing and improving on the prompts and just overall just without any action on our behalf or yours, just we'll start to see improvements on the conversation. So that was a kind of a thing there. I mean, it was worth it to share with everybody, even though the feature kind of existed last week, but we've just been working on it behind the scenes.
yeah,
So
no, for sure. And we had like last week we had like what, like five, six at least different, I think, announcements. So, it was a lot. So,
it was a lot
it's
last week.
coming down a bit, reversion to the mean a bit, today. But
Totally.
still, I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty powerful, and hopefully, I feel like we're gonna expand on this when we add better quality, voice and stuff. And have you can have multiple speakers, but also like really cool personalities and stuff. Interacting
Right.
and create a very dynamic conversation.
Right. Totally. No, it's interesting. I mean, like there's some where you can kind of have like a master, like an artisan master, and like a protege or like apprentice sort of type of dynamic, professor and student. Now you have like two students asking questions. Like that's really cool. Like I think one of the things that we learned, or we kind of known this, but we're digging into a little bit deeper, is like there's a lot of educators out there at universities across the world using Jellypod to create supplementary content for their students, for faculty peers, um, and something that we're doubling down on because it really just makes sense. I mean, if a professor can curate a 10-minute, 20-minute weekly podcast on, just hey, reminders of what's due this week. Here's what we're focusing on for the week. Um, Here's a question to ponder before class. Like that type of stuff is scalable. It's easy for the professor to do. They have the content. They can make sure and review its accuracy, publish to a feed that their students have access to. Uh, it's pretty cool. I mean, the stuff I've seen created.
Definitely, definitely, yeah. Yeah, education is a huge, I think, niche, and it's very interesting to me how various teachers and stuff will supplement their materials or even replace them using podcasts. And I think it's a very
Right.
powerful mechanism that we ourselves are trying to figure out, okay, like, how are people using it and how can we best, optimize our platform for them. So if you guys have any, you know, specific ways, you guys are using Jellypod, or would like to use Jellypod, but maybe are limited with our current, features, let us know. We're always like
Right.
looking to make this better.
Yeah, I mean that, and like before we jump into the other thing that we added this week too, like that kind of goes into one of the things that we've been looking at. People have been asking for like clips, like short clips. Like we've mentioned this before on the call, but I mean I know you're super excited about uh, being able to take like one or two or multiple speech blocks and make short clips, like a minute long segments from your podcast episodes. You can post it on like Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Was there anything that you wanted, like what, anything you wanted to share about that or?
Yeah, I mean, I would just I think for me it's like more of an open question. I would love for
Right.
the chat to tell us because we've been focused on so much on making sure you guys can create the best podcast possible. But there's this whole other distribution side where once you create it, okay, you can put it on YouTube or Spotify, etc. But a lot of people, I feel like, especially in today's world, social media is just like ubiquitous. You're right. Whether you
Mm-hmm.
probably want to chop it up into clips or put some on Instagram, or Twitter or, or wherever, right? And so the question is like, how do we make that better? And I do think, letting people create shorter clips where they can easily share as a teaser to their main podcast could be a huge funnel. And um, you know, then again, some people like aren't concerned about that. So it's more of a hypothesis. I feel like at this point
Right.
that it would be valuable. I do think it would be because the thing you realize as a creator myself is like you can create the best thing in the world, but if a tree falls in the middle of a forest and nobody hears it, did the tree fall, right? It's kind of like that. And so, if you're putting in so much effort, you want to make sure you get heard, and so we want to make sure we set up Jellypod for you to easily distribute it, whether it's one-click shareability, whether it's, maybe, you can create shortcuts, whether it's automatically doing it for you and just suggesting, oh,
Right.
this is a great, like, engagement, or you can add a hook here or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of avenues we can go down, in the distribution
Right.
funnel. But we'd love to hear what you guys think in the chat. Like, let us know how do you guys like. A lot, we've heard a lot of times you guys will take the Jellypod podcast, go to another tool like CapCut or whatever, and edit it yourselves, to share it. So we would love to know more about your process there because we want to bring that into Jellypod. So we literally want it to make it as easy as possible for you, so you don't have to go back and forth between tools.
Right, right. That's just such a core, like fundamental product philosophy we have. And hopefully everybody recognizes that when they use the platform. If you've been here for a while, like James, Franny, anyone else I'm not calling out, you've probably seen these product improvements and they all fall under that umbrella of, hey, you're going to ChatGPT to make your script. You want to import that script. Importing scripts now, we could do that. If you were here, back in January when we first launched, we didn't even have the ability to edit your like think your podcast transcript. Like think about that. One of the fundamental core things was editing your podcast transcript, um, and and that didn't even exist when we first launched.
Right.
So we're taking in this feedback from everybody, and we're seeing why people are going off platform. One, to like distribute their content, or to edit their content, or to do a professional voice clone on 11 Labs, and they want to use that, higher fidelity, better voice clone from 11 Labs that they already have or they've created into Jellypod. And those like all those things that make you leave the platform, um, that aren't natively built in are just things that like are high priority for us. Um, so let us know if there's things that like
Yes.
you
Yeah.
want. Yeah, just please, like it's super helpful.
Yeah, and also we have a lot of, I think, because the data, we've looked at the data and it's actually underused right now. A lot of people will just hit publish or download the template as is, but we actually, if you look at in our toolbar, we have a couple of really interesting options which I think are super powerful and underutilized. First, you can actually change the aspect ratio. So especially for mobile, I know it sounds very like it's fine because you can get the black windows when it's landscape, but a lot of people actually prefer the mobile 9 by 16 aspect ratio. And if you are distributing this on Instagram or any platform that is more mobile first, you probably want to optimize for that. So, and you can like download it first in the landscape, publish that, but then go back and re-download in a different template too if you want to. So aspect ratio for your mobile clips, you can do that. And then the second is we have the classic audiogram, which is the default, but you can also use other templates. Like there's a couple of captions templates. Spotlight and Album are my favorite, where you can have captions come in a more punchy way with like the
Right.
audiogram in behind, or you can have like a whole paragraph and the words just slide up gradually, which is a great way to tell a story because the people really hook on the word. And I've noticed myself, I love captions. I get super engaged on social media if I can see captions and I can follow along. Maybe because English is also my second language, so it helps me. Yeah, I've always been a subtitle guy, so
Right.
definitely recommend checking those two options out and utilizing them. And you can download again, as to reiterate, you can download it in different formats. You're not locked in. Download it in like your mobile format, your caption format, and then publish it in the final format you want.
Right. That's key. That's key.
Yeah.
Oh, I just missed all these chats. Sorry,
Oh yeah.
I've been so
I know,
it didn't scroll up automatically. So sorry for not like calling us all out. But
yeah.
before we jump around, I mean, just because I just had this idea right now. I mean, I know we default to the classic audiograms. Um, can we do an experiment? Can we like just put in like a quick post hoc experiment feature flag
All
and
right, and
default
try
for
different ones as
and
default.
either all four or like and just like try the defaults and see maybe there's a different there's like more people publishing, more people
Yeah, yeah.
subscribing. I
There's
mean,
something
that'd be
about
a cool
agency.
fast follow.
One of
Yeah.
my favorite, sorry, random tangent, but one of my favorite psychological experiments they did was, I don't know if you've heard of it, was, it's a random tangent, but I think it's pretty fun, was they took a survey in a office where they found, so the default browser back in this was Internet Explorer back in the day, 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And so it was a Windows Office software. They had that, and this is when Chrome was cool. So what they did was they basically had a tracker that said how many of our employees when they first join download Google Chrome, and then they basically compared that group versus people who just use the default internet browser. And it wasn't about Chrome. The idea was that anyone who has agency enough to actually download, because it required an action on your part, like there was no instruction to download Chrome, you had to do it yourself. And they found out the group that actually downloaded Chrome was way more productive and actually were in the top echelon of employees. And
Oh,
it had nothing to do with Chrome or that they were tech savvy. It was the fact that they actually took that initiative themselves. And so it's interesting when most people default to whatever there is. That's why Google pays Apple $20 billion a year to make Google search the default on Safari. The power of defaults are huge. So, but you're right. We should definitely play around with that because I feel like those features do get buried a bit.
right. No, I completely
Yeah.
agree. I think that we can improve that and how we surface those different templates and different features on the aspect ratios and experiment on the defaults because hypothesis is maybe the default that we have right now isn't the best one to have. It's just the original one, and so yeah, I think that'd be something cool we can like knock out maybe like in the next few days, if not even today. That'd be sick. And I mean, going back to the defaults thing, um, yeah, like when it comes to tools, like I think you know this, and for everybody out there, I'm a pretty like we're both system thinkers. We like tools. We mess around. We stay pretty engaged with the hot new thing, the shiny new objects, which is distractive, very distracting at times for sure. I'm a pretty I like trying tools,
Yeah.
seeing like a lot of tools very very briefly,
Yeah.
and then like committing to one, trying out for a while, and then being okay to rip it out. But I think a
Yeah,
big
that part is
problem.
key. I love how you rip stuff out. Like you ripped out today of like a software which I wasn't the biggest fan of. So I'm like, yes, great.
Yeah,
Yes.
I I love like I this is this the mental model that I do like I work on is like I will go decently deep just to like explore go broad first, just like kind of do a little bit time box research of like everything I'm trying to accomplish, and then choose like just make a decision. It could be the wrong decision. Just make that decision, use it, get familiar with it, And then eventually you realize, you know what, there was this other thing that got better, or let's try it. Let's move over there. Like this. Like we're streaming on Riverside now, and we move platforms. And it's like the churn sucks for a lot of people. And I think if you can't handle the churn, that's a whole nother like conversation about like employees, like, is the inertia to switch services like too much of a burden? Which it can be for sure. But like different types of employees and different types of people at a company, they're more okay with like swapping because they recognize that even though there's going to be a new learning curve, that newer choice builds upon the learnings from using that previous thing, and hopefully it's like a better choice. So I know it's a tangent, but that's kind of like one of the things I've realized more about myself over the last 2 years of like who I am as like a builder and everything. Just it's kind of self-reflective, and that's one of those things I think I've realized I am, which can be annoying for people because I'm like, you just invested all this time in doing this thing. I was like, what? It was the wrong decision. I ripped it out,
No, I
and
mean
now
that's
you
why
go
that's
somewhere
why
else.
you're doing a startup, because you can move fast and break stuff.
Right, totally. So we're moving fast, but we'll get back on track here with all these comments. It's so awesome. So we got this one. I'm going to show this real quick. So this is kind of segues into extra hosts. So we talked about we have 3 and 4 hosts now. If you haven't created a podcast with 3 hosts, do it. 4 hosts, do it. It's awesome. It's more engaging personally. I like them way better. Uh, and so pretty much this is just like normal. It's 3 people talking back and forth. Um, you can't use the Notebook LM hosts if that was what you were referring to. But yeah, so that's kind of that. And I know Franny, she has a really awesome feature request here. So
Ooh.
I know you sent in multiple messages, but so a lot of people right now, how the flow works is you create a new episode, you upload those sources to that episode, you generate the outline. Once you generate that outline or you generate that transcript, you can't add new sources, and it's a bummer. You could regenerate the outline, you could regenerate the transcript, but that source content isn't editable. So pretty much what Franny is saying, like, is there a way to do this to add more sources? And the unfortunate answer is today, no. This is something though that we've heard a lot. Um, and we haven't gotten around to starting this work stream, just to be transparent. But it's like very high up on our priorities list.
Hmm.
And so I don't know, Bilal, what your thought is here. Maybe we can get to this sometime this month in July.
Yeah, I mean it's essentially just being able to add sources and when you regenerate outline, it just uses the latest sources. So
Right,
it also feeds into, I think, a question we've debated for a while now is like, do we want to do podcast level sources and episode level sources? Which the con is it adds a little more complexity as a user, but I feel like it does open up really interesting like use cases where because a lot of times you have base material which is going to be your foundation for your podcast foundational knowledge, and then for every
right,
episode maybe there's a couple of extra sources, but rather than adding 10 different sources every time, you can just like set it once and that's your base knowledge, and then just add the specific stuff for every episode. It's
right,
something we're still thinking through. I think the UI and how to surface that capability. But yeah.
right. No, totally. Yeah, editing and removing sources during creation, adding podcast level sources, so it's like a base source across your entire podcast series. And the other thing that I think is pretty, what I've always kind of wanted and people have asked for, but let me know if this is something that people in the audience would find interesting, is that similar to podcast level sources, if you can upload a bunch of source material and then create a podcast series of multiple episodes from that source material. So it's very similar to podcast sources where it's like you go in and you create multiple episodes grounded in one set of knowledge. But it's more of like, hey, I upload 10 different sources, create me a 10 episode series talking across all these. Or I upload 5 sources and create me a 7 episode series breaking apart all the core topics
Oh, oh, so you're saying just do it once, which I like just say, and then it just genders
Yeah, like think
fast.
about it like you're a professor and you have a
Right.
syllabus and like course material for the whole quarter. You kind of want to, hey, have one session or like multiple times where you dump everything in and say, hey, create me the 10-week, 10 episode series. And then I can go in and edit each one of those episodes. But it's like at the front, you just create the whole series in all 10 episodes.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I like that, especially as a placeholder too, because you might not be what you want, but then you have something you're like, okay, I can just edit it. And to Franny's point, she made about, I think this the feature we talked about. This is not a coincidence. It kind of surfaces more now because of duplication, which we added, I think, 3 4 weeks ago, very recent too.
right.
Because once you duplicate, you probably do want to add more sources and things. And right now you can't really do that. That's so
Hmm.
it makes sense that that that's a
Totally.
logical step because you can only edit outline. If I think about it now, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Duplication's power is like very limited if you can't really regenerate the outline properly. So get that.
Right. Right. Totally. Um, yeah, and so there's Franny. She likes the idea. So
Yeah, yeah.
cool. That's a +1 on that. So that's awesome. We put these into our project management stuff, our trackers. And cool. It looks like we got a new customer story interview that will get scheduled. Um, I don't have. I can probably look into all of our users and find out. But if you just want to, Andrea, message us just so we can start that conversation directly in the chat. Let me know, and then if not, then I'll get around to it later.
Yeah,
But
you
just
can
ping me in the
if you
chat.
go on our website, there's a on the bottom right, there's a little orange pop-up thing. You can like start chatting with us there,
Right.
and that's probably easiest.
Yeah.
Or just send an
And
email at contact@jellypod.ai. That works too.
yeah. And if not, then I'll bug you if I don't hear from you. So I'll find you anyway. But yeah. So and then the other thing, I mean, I sent this in the email. It's pretty minor, nothing crazy because it doesn't probably apply for most of you if you just use Jellypod. But for a lot of users that were already coming over from a platform like 11 Labs, a lot of times people have what's known as a professional voice clone or a PVC. Professional voice clones are a 11 Labs feature that it's a voice clone, but it just requires a lot more audio to really capture all the nuances of your speech. So you upload 30 minutes of audio, and then it'll create a voice clone that's just much better, supposedly, than like those instant voice clones that are just, take 30 seconds of audio. So if you're a business user or somebody that was already using 11 Labs, have a professional voice clone over there. You can now really easily, just with like a few clicks, import that voice clone into Jellypod. Um, it's it used to you used to have to like message us and we had to do some stuff on our end. It took like a day or so to do it. Honestly, it took about 20 to 30 minutes every time somebody messaged me because
Mm,
I'd have to import it, I'd have to like create all this stuff and
right.
add it to your account. But now it's programmatically done. You just click, you go to account settings, right under your name and your email address. It'll say import professional voice clone from 11 Labs. You click that, you add the share URL from your 11 Labs voice there. You click import, and boom, it's done. You can use it to create a host, and it's super easy now. So it takes
Nice.
like 2 minutes.
Do they have to update any settings on the 11 Lab site for us to import it?
Yeah, so when you have to log into your Level Labs account, and then pretty much you click on your professional voice clone, and you just toggle on like sharing, like voice sharing. And when you toggle that on, you get this unique URL. That's a share URL, which is essentially just what you provide to us. And then that's how we import it from that share URL. So you just have to keep that on, so it allows you to still own that PVC, and you can actually turn that off at any time. It'll break it in Jellypod if you do. But yeah, that's all you have to do, and then just give us the URL, and then it'll work. So yeah,
Nice. No, super cool.
yeah. So and I know we usually do this from 10 to 10:30 every Wednesday. So 10 a.m. Pacific time. We're on the West Coast and here in the United States. But was there anything else I think that like we wanted to mention? Things that like are coming up, um, any other questions for anyone in the audience, let us know before we
Yeah.
end. But
Yeah, I think we covered mostly most of
yeah,
it.
cover a lot of stuff. We're focusing a lot on growth right now. So there's could be things behind the scenes that are happening. Hopefully the product gets more resilient, better, and then more people are joining these weekly Wednesdays and hopping on, and I can talk to you more on intercom and on our support chat. But yeah, so I think that's probably everything. I think you good to end here.
Yeah, I think we can end.
Sweet.
Thanks for
Okay.
tuning in, guys.
Thanks for
Fun
tuning
as-
in. Join us. Yeah, join us next Wednesday. So every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Hop on. We'll send an email 30 minutes before, and just you'll hear us banter, learn about new Jellypod features, tips and tricks, and yeah. So see you all next week.
Yeah. See you guys. Bye.